Is Texas in danger of losing a blue chip defensive line commit? We've got the latest on today's episode of Locked On Longhorns. Intro.
You are Locked On Longhorns, your daily podcast on the Texas Longhorns. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome in. You are locked on to the Texas Longhorns. I'm your host, BK Brad Kellner, Texas grad, Austin local, and longtime sports radio host here in the Lone Star State. Thank you for making Locked On Longhorns a part of your day every single day. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Football season is here. Visit the FanDuel app today and start planning your bets now. We'll get to the latest injury updates for the current Texas team and also the viral moment from Steve Sarkisian's Monday presser. That's coming up later in the show. But first, a not-so-good recruiting update for Texas for the class of 2026. Corey Wells, a four-star defensive lineman from the state of Mississippi, committed to the Longhorns back on June 9th. He's the 34th ranked defensive lineman in this class, and as of right now, he is one of four D linemen that Texas has in the 2026 class. Unfortunately, this one is starting to trend away from Texas. Auburn has been hot on the trails for Corey Wells as of late, and some folks I've talked to behind the scenes believe that that is the spot where Corey Wells will end up when we get to National Signing Day on December 3rd. Wells took an OV to Auburn this past weekend. He was there when the Tigers took down Ball State on Saturday night at Jordan-Hare, and obviously, you never love when a committed player takes visits elsewhere. It's recruiting. It happens. But here's what separates this one from a lot of the other current Texas commits who are maybe taking visits somewhere else. Corey Wells has a brother named Chris, who is also a 2026 recruit. He plays linebacker at the same high school, obviously, as Corey does, from the state of Mississippi. Chris Wells is currently committed to South Alabama. But a couple of weeks ago, in late August, he picked up an offer from Auburn, and that is by far his biggest offer. He's a three-star. He's got a few other offers, but Troy is one of them. Southern Miss is one of them. Jackson State is another one. We're not quite talking about SEC schools here. Chris Wells picks up the Auburn offer, which again is without question the top offer that he's gotten to this point, and it feels pretty easy to put two and two together here. Auburn really wants Corey Wells to increase their chances of landing Corey. They offered the not as good, at least on paper, not as good brother. We see this kind of stuff happen all of the time in recruiting, whether it's with a sibling or with a high school teammate or with a best friend, whatever. There are a lot of recruits who really want to play with somebody, and if a school is willing to offer that somebody, then that's going to increase their chances of landing both of those players. As of right now, the only school, Power 4, G5, it doesn't matter. The only school that has offered both Corey and Chris, that's the Auburn Tigers. And look, Auburn has stayed on Corey Wells since his commitment to Texas back in June. Like, they stayed on him right then, and they haven't let up over the past couple of months. Some concerning quotes for Texas fans following Corey's trip to Auburn this past weekend. He gave these to 24/7 Sports and said the visit, quote, went amazing. I ain't going to lie. This was my first Auburn game, a night game. It was amazing. The fourth quarter was very exciting. That was something different. Just everything. It was hype. It was real lit and good. I liked it. I really loved it. End quote. Not what you want to hear a recruit talking about another school. You want to hear him saying that about your school. If that wasn't concerning enough, when asked about Auburn offering his brother, Corey Wells said, quote, "Oh, it's important. They're recruiting him as hard as they're recruiting me. It's not like they're recruiting him because of me. They're recruiting him because they see the talent he has. I definitely see myself playing with my brother in college," end quote. That's the right thing for a brother to say. I'm not entirely sure that that's the case, but hey, Corey Wells being a supporter brother, you respect that. I'm not going to fault anybody for doing that. So those two quotes right there coming out of this weekend, great news for Auburn, not great for Texas. And I don't expect Texas to offer the brother, right? Like some people might say, well, if Texas really wants to keep Corey Wells, why don't they just offer Chris Wells? Here's the difference between Texas and Auburn right now. The Longhorns class currently ranks 6th in the country. Auburn, on the other hand, is at 51. One of the worst in all of Power 4. One team feels a little bit more desperate than the other. Steve Sarkisian isn't trying to save his job right now. He just got a big money extension this past offseason. His team's been to 2 straight college football playoff semifinals. Hugh Freeze, on the other hand, he's trying to save his job right now. There are a lot of people who are ready to pull the plug on the Hugh Freeze experiment in Auburn. They're off to a great start this year, but the jury's still out on whether or not he is the long-term answer at head coach. So one team and one coach a little bit more desperate than the other. Texas isn't really handing out scholarships to guys who are ranked outside of the top 1,600 players in a class these days. And that's what Chris Wells is. 3-star recruit, but yeah, he's in the 1,600s in terms of his overall rankings this year. The Longhorns just brought in a number 1 class. They didn't offer guys like that. Texas has brought in 4 straight top 5 classes. They're not just handing out scholars to anybody just for the sake of it right now. And unfortunately, that may be what costs the Longhorns Corey Wells. If you had unlimited scholarships to issue out, then maybe Texas changes its course. But as of this moment in time, I don't think Texas is going to make the offer. And as of this moment in time, it feels like more of a matter of when a flip is going to happen, not if a flip is going to happen for Corey Wells. There have been a couple of high-profile crystal ballers out there that have been predicting this flip since the visit went down over the weekend. And look, I'll say this, Texas isn't giving up on Corey Wells without a fight. Longhorns defensive line coach Kenny Baker has reportedly spoken to Corey twice this week already, and it's only Tuesday. So the Horns are going to do whatever they can to keep this commitment intact. I should say maybe whatever they can, short of offering the brother a scholarship. But again, the writing on the wall not looking very good for the Longhorns right now. Now, here's the good news. If Wells does end up decommitting, Texas still has 3 other defensive linemen committed in the 26 cycle. Rodney Cleveland, James Johnson, Dylan Berryman, they're all still a part of the class, and all 3 of those guys are rated higher than Wells right now. So that's good. And also, look, Texas is going after a few more blue-chip D linemen in this cycle. 4-star Florida commit Kendall Gervil. You talk about coaches on a hot seat. Did y'all see what Billy Napier just did this past weekend? Losing as a 3-score favorite at home to South Florida. There's another coach who was on a hot seat going into the year, and that was not a good showing by the Gators at home this past weekend. And they've got LSU, Miami, Texas, and Texas A&M as their next 4 opponents on the schedule. If something happens to Billy Napier, that could increase the likelihood that Texas is able to end up with Kendall Gervil in this class. Something to monitor for sure. Another name that Texas is still going after, 4-star USC commit Jamion Winfield, who's from Richardson, Texas, up in the Metroplex, where I'm from. He's still on the Longhorns' radar as well. Now, he committed to USC a while ago, and he actually said he was shutting down his recruitment back in May. I will say this. I know that he and Texas have talked at least once since the recruitment was, quote-unquote, shut down. So maybe still an opportunity there for the Longhorns. Texas still going after a few other defensive linemen, even with Corey Wells still a part of things, which is good because defensive line depth is obviously huge. And I don't think Texas wants to bring in 5 portal players every offseason. In a pinch, that's the beauty of the portal. But I think we have enough evidence from the first 5 years of the Steve Sarkisian era that he doesn't want to build through the portal. He wants to add some key pieces where he needs them through the portal, but he'd rather really build up his roster from the high school ranks. And, well, when you're recruiting the way Sark has in Austin, hard to argue with that strategy. Of course, when you're having the success that Sark has had in Austin, hard to argue with that strategy too. You don't want to get 5 players out of the portal. Sark and company really making it a point of emphasis to sign a good and big defensive line class, no pun intended, here in 2026. So, again, unfortunate news right there. I think Texas will be fine if this flip ends up happening. But, yeah, it sounds like Corey Wells is trending Auburn right now. All right, let's bring things back to the current team. We've got an injury update. Texas could be without a few key players for this weekend's game against UTEP. Starting to wonder if some of these injuries could bleed into conference play. We've got the latest intel coming up next right here on Locked On Longhorns. But first, a word for our friends at 5 Hour Energy. Time to fuel up and turn it up with 5 Hour Energy Transfusion. This grape, ginger, and lime flavored shot brings the iconic taste of the golf course favorite to a non-alcoholic boost. Perfect for sinking birdies on the course, making great memories for friends, or just if you're at the office and you need a little pick-me-up to get you through the day. This is a hole-in-one for your energy game. 5 Hour Energy Transfusion delivers the clubhouse flavor that you love without ever leaving the green. Love spending days on the course, hanging out with friends. It's great. And sometimes in this Texas heat, it gets a little tiring. Once you hit the back nine, you need that little pick-me-up. That's the beauty of 5 Hour Energy Transfusion. Golf is all about good times with good people, and now good flavors. The grape, ginger, lime flavor of 5 Hour Energy Transfusion gives you the best parts of your clubhouse go-to without having to chase down the bev cart. Tee up that trip. 5 Hour Energy. Right now, you can enter for your chance to win a dream golf trip for two to any golf tournament in the US of A. That's right. Tee up that trip. Visit 5-he-win.com for full rules and entry. No purchase necessary. Ends October 31st, 2025. And also a word for our friends at FanDuel. The NFL season is here, and FanDuel is making sure that you're ready for kickoff with a can't-miss offer. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. Yes, you heard that right. $5 bet. If that bet wins, you get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. FanDuel makes every game more exciting, whether you're watching your favorite team or just keeping an eye on your fantasy lineup. This is a quick, easy, and honestly, the best way to add a little bit more energy to your Sundays. The FanDuel app, FanDuel.com. Are you ready to play? Download the FanDuel app now by visiting FanDuel.com to get started. That's FanDuel.com to place your first $5 bet. All right, welcome back to Locked On Longhorns, your team every day. We are 4 days away from Texas and UTEP at DKR Texas Memorial Stadium. The Longhorns currently a 38-point favorite in this one. It should be just another tune-up game for the Horns as we inch closer and closer to SEC play. We've got some updated intel on some injured Longhorns right now, and we'll start with Quintravion Wisner. This is the only player that Sark was asked about. I should say the only injured player that Sark was asked about during his game week press conference that he held on campus yesterday. Here is the video of Steve Sarkisian talking about the health of his number one running back.
Trey, I'd probably say today is doubtful. I'm not ruling him out, but I'd say it's doubtful. Again, at this juncture of the season, I'm just not in a rush to push guys back out there if they're not as close to 100% or even closer. Like I just know how long this thing goes, and I know what it's going to look like in October and November and December and hopefully January. Like, is the juice worth the squeeze right now for Saturday? Now we're rehabbing them. We're trying to get them ready to go, and then we'll make a decision as we get closer to the ball game of what that looks like.
So Steve Sarkisian saying that Trey Wisner is doubtful for this Saturday's game against UTEP, and he also kind of mentioned that that is subject to change as this week goes along. You could spin that answer one of two ways, right? The glass half full way, he's fine. If Texas was playing a bigger game this week, then Trey Wisner would probably be on the field. Sark is just being a little bit overcautious because of who the opponent is. It's a long season. You don't want to risk aggravating anything that causes Wisner to miss some of the more important games that you have down the road. Fair thought. The glass half empty way is, well, he's already missed one game, and you're telling us that he's doubtful to play this weekend. And with that answer, you're kind of hinting towards Trey Wisner not playing next week against Sam Houston either. So that'd be 3 missed games in a row, plus a bye week. Now, chance to get healthy. That's a full month to get back on track. That's also a lot of time missed during a season. And we don't know how much Trey Wisner is practicing right now either. It may not just be games that he's missing. He might be missing a lot right now. Sark called it a leg injury, but the concern is behind the scenes that this is a soft tissue. This is a hamstring problem right now. And those things tend to linger, and that's not ideal. So if that's the case, if it is a hamstring injury, then I am perfectly fine with Trey Wisner sitting out for a while to heal up, because Texas should have no problem with their next two opponents. But I start to worry a little bit that this could be an issue that could plague Wisner all year long. And I'll be honest, we talked about this yesterday and during the postgame on Saturday. I was not very impressed with the Longhorns running game against San Jose State this past weekend. Obviously, Trey Wisner wasn't there. Look, some of the issues with the run game are on the offensive line. I didn't think they got nearly enough push up front, but I didn't see a whole lot from the Texas running backs that excited me. Like C.J. Baxter still working his way back from the knee injuries. Jarrett Gibson still has fumble issues. Christian Clark didn't quite look ready yet. You get it. It was his first career collegiate game, and he was also coming off a serious injury. But it goes without saying, you need a good run game to help your inexperienced quarterback. Any quarterback's best friend is a strong rushing attack. In Texas, we saw some great things against Ohio State when Trey Wisner was there. The one game where we didn't see Wisner, not so much. So as of right now, I feel like Texas needs a healthy Trey Wisner to compete for an SEC championship. Again, if resting him these next couple of weeks means he's good to go for Florida on October 4th, no problem. Take your time. I just, if the guy misses 3 games, you get worried that something's going to linger a little bit, especially when we're talking about soft tissue. Maybe those other 3 guys, Baxter, Clark, Gibson, maybe they ball out these next 2 weeks and I'll have a different tune going into Florida. But right now, I'm not seeing enough from the other running backs not named Quintravion to feel great about Texas at that spot right now. Some other injury notes. We saw wide receiver DeAndre Moore leave the game early after taking a hit on a screen pass against San Jose State. He went into the medical tent, then went into the locker room, did not return. We didn't get a Monday update from Sark. Saturday after the game, Steve Sarkisian said, quote, he definitely got dinged, end quote. And he also added that the coaching staff decided to hold him out. Again, with Texas playing UTEP this week, one would think that the staff is going to err on the side of caution here as well, similar to the Wisner situation. And I don't know what the deal is with Emmett Mosley V either. So Texas might be down 2 of its top 4 wide receivers for this game. We're not seeing enough from Ryan Wingo so far. He struggled through the first couple of games of the year. So that wide receiver room, but potentially a little thin this weekend. Again, UTEP, you should be fine. And an opportunity for the younger guys to get some run. Khalil Lockett, Dalen McCutcheon, Jamie French, Michael Terry, Aaron Butler. I'll throw his name in there as well. All of those guys could get some extra run if Texas is a couple of wideouts down against the Miners. Don't know exactly what the injury is for DeAndre Moore. Looked like a shoulder. It's about all we have as of right now. 3 other quick notes involving 3 starters, including 2 preseason All-Americans. Michael Taaffe, he got hurt in the 4th quarter against San Jose State, was limping off the field. He was spotted limping, leaving the facility after the win on Saturday. No update from Sark yesterday. So as of now, Michael Taaffe's status for this weekend is unknown, but shouldn't come as much of a surprise if Michael Taaffe is a bit limited, at least against UTEP. Alex January did not play last weekend. You'd think the Longhorns are going to be pretty cautious with the second-year defensive lineman as well. And then Colin Simmons, last but not least, he gave Texas fans a scare on Saturday when he went down with an injury at the start of the 4th quarter, was able to get up and trot off under his own power. Similar situation here. You would expect Texas is going to be cautious with Simmons. No indication one way or another on what to expect for this weekend, but we did see Colin Simmons, smiling, running off the field on Saturday following the final buzzer against San Jose State. So that's a good sign. Sark talked about Colin Simmons after the game Saturday and yesterday as well, and he didn't bring up the injury at all. He just talked about him needing to improve his play, which, I promised you all a segment about that today, and I'm not going to do it. I'm going to save it for tomorrow. I promise. We're going to give Colin Simmons and Ryan Wingo their own segment and talk about what those guys need to do to improve and why it's so important for them to improve for the Longhorns to reach their goals this season. We will get to that tomorrow, I promise. So there you go. There's your injury update. Some big name players there. Trey Wisner, Colin Simmons, Michael Taaffe, Alex January, DeAndre Moore, 5 key cogs for this Texas team who might be out this Saturday against UTEP. All right, one segment left on a Tuesday show. Steve Sarkisian went viral for something that he said in his Monday press conference. What was it, and what did he mean by it? We will get to it up next right here on Locked On Longhorns. But first, a word for our friends at Game Time. College football is back, and I couldn't be more excited. The tailgates, the rivalries, the energy in the stands, there is nothing like it. But let's be real. Actually getting tickets can feel more like a battle than the game itself. Long lines, hidden fees, prices randomly jumping at checkout. That's why I use Game Time, the app that gives the advantage back to the fans. It's the easiest way to score last-minute tickets at the best prices with zero surprise fees. What you see on the app is what you're going to pay every single time. They've got amazing deals on every Texas game and on every college football game all around the country. It's faster, it's cheaper, it's less stressful than any other ways that I've bought tickets in the past. So it's time for you to take the guesswork out of buying tickets with our friends at Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the promo code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, the promo code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off. Swipe, tap, ticket, go. Download Game Time today. All right, final segment on a Tuesday show. Appreciate y'all chiming in. Don't forget to comment below with your thoughts, with any questions, comments, concerns, whatever is on your mind. Always do appreciate y'all's feedback. So, Steve Sarkisian typically doesn't give a whole lot at his press conferences, right? Like, he's not a big trash talker. He isn't trying out new stand-up comedy routines when he's up there. Like, he's usually pretty direct, usually pretty to the point, and he'll give you some coach speak, but like that's who he is. There's not a whole lot of extra with Sark. And because of that, like, unless you cover Texas or unless you're like a diehard Longhorn fan who watches all of these press conferences every week, you don't often hear about what he says at these things. Yesterday was different. I'm fairly certain all of you have seen and heard this by now, but here it is. We've got the question and the answer in here. Steve Sarkisian was asked if Arch Manning was playing through any pain this past Saturday against San Jose State. Here is the reporter's question and Coach Sark's answer.
Arch Manning seemed to be having some throwing pains by the
According to who?
Arch.
Arch said that to you?
No.
Oh, according to who?
It just looked like he was.
He doesn't have any.
Is there an explanation to why he was? It looked like that.
I don't know. I've never filmed any of you guys when you're using the bathroom, so I don't know what faces you make when you're doing that.
So, very interesting answer from Steve Sarkisian. And of course, if you watch the San Jose State game, I mean, there were a couple of slow-mo shots on the TV broadcast where it looked like Arch Manning was wincing when he threw the football. And there was one play where he really underthrew a receiver over the middle of the field where, the slow-mo shot did make it look like Arch Manning was in some pain. I think here's a picture of that happening. And I mean, Sark's comments yesterday went viral. I have no idea what that was. Like, is Sark saying that Arch is crapping his pants when he throws? Like, I know he hasn't been Heisman favorite good yet through these first 2 weeks, but we're saying he's crapping himself out there. Like, I've heard plenty of different ways that coaches have shut down rumors about their teams or about players on their teams in press conference settings over the years, but I'm not sure I've ever heard a coach. Matter of fact, I'm 100% sure that I've never heard a coach bring up filming people in the bathroom before. Like, I don't even know what to make of that. The answer was so damn weird. It almost felt like AI. Like, the first time I saw it, I'm like, this is good. I mean, AI is getting good these days. That really looks like Sark. It really sounds like Sark, but come on, that's not Sark. He's not saying something like that. It was pretty bizarre. And yeah, I just, if Arch is legitimately crapping himself every time he throws the ball, that's kind of odd, but also kind of impressive if he's able to do that. Pretty bizarre yesterday. So look, here's what I really think. I think Steve Sarkisian was tired, and I think he was kind of annoyed by the way that people have been talking about this. And I believe Sark, like, it almost feels like some Texas fans are hoping that Arch Manning is playing through something right now. Like, maybe that's the reason why he hasn't looked as good as we wanted through the first 2 weeks of the season, which to me is a ridiculous thought. Like, you should never hope that your starting quarterback is dealing with anything ever. But I believe Sark here. Like, I also believe that the Manning family wouldn't be letting Arch play if he was really dealing with something serious right now. And if you go back, you can find pictures of Manning making similar faces to the ones that he was making on Saturday in previous games and in previous years, like both last year at Texas and during his high school career at Isidore Newman in Louisiana. Makes weird faces. Like he's a Manning. The term Manning face exists for a reason. Those guys are all great football players. They also make some really weird faces. Eli, Peyton, that's a thing. It's genetic with those guys, I guess. And of course, with Arch, everything that he does is psychoanalyzed by everyone and their mother. Even the faces he makes apparently are being watched right now. So we just can't let this kid live, can we? Like, go watch a baseball pitcher throw a baseball. Go watch a tennis player. I mean, those guys are grunting incredibly loud every time they hit the ball. Like the faces people make when they are doing something strenuous or something like this, they're not always like a smile. They're not always stoic. Like the regular people who don't even play sports make weird faces when they're trying to focus in on something. So I don't think there's anything there. I think Arch Manning is perfectly fine. And yeah, again, an insane answer by Steve Sarkisian. There are so many other ways he could have answered that question. There are so many other ways that I think he probably wishes he did answer that question, because I don't think Sark was trying to go viral with what he said yesterday. But I think he was just getting tired. I honestly sense that Sark is pretty bothered with this football team right now. Like kind of a theme in Saturday's post-game presser and yesterday's availability. Like, it's kind of the vibe I'm getting with Texas right now, with Steve Sarkisian right now. He's just bothered. Like Sark took a lot of blame for the way things have been going and for things that have been going wrong, especially with the offense. But to me, he sounds like a coach who's just not really happy with the way his team is executing right now. And I think his overall frustration with the entire team, combined with the annoyance of the Arch injury topic, caused Sark to spew maybe the weirdest press conference answer that he's ever had as the head coach at the University of Texas. So I don't know what it means. The good news is Arch Manning is healthy. People I've talked to behind the scenes say the same thing, that Arch Manning is fine. It's just some people make weird faces when they're doing things, I guess. And it's a Manning, so it shouldn't come as much of a surprise. But that was a unique moment for sure. All right, we'll take your thoughts. What do you make? Are you worried that Steve Sarkisian is lying and maybe there is something that is ailing Arch Manning right now? Or do you just think everything is okay and hopefully the play on the field gets better as the year goes along? I thought Arch played really well against San Jose State. Still some moments that he'd like to have back, still some learning moments for him, but much better in week 2 than in week 1. Hopefully that progression continues week over week throughout the 2025 season. All right, that'll do it for today's episode. If you made it this far, number 1, thank you. Number 2, please remember to like, subscribe, share, rate 5 stars if you're listening via podcast, and leave a comment. That's one of the fastest ways to help us grow, and that's the way that you can get involved with the show. Really appreciate y'all making Locked On Longhorns a part of your day. For your next listen, check out Locked On Bets with Lee Sterling and Kevin Rogers. They are your one-stop shop for all of your sports betting needs. You can find Locked On Bets on YouTube or wherever you get your podcast. More Texas football conversation, including Ryan Wingo, Colin Simmons segment, and we'll dive into more from the San Jose State game and start to turn the page more to this Saturday's tilt against the Miners of the University of Texas at El Paso. But that'll do it for today. Thanks so much for tuning in. Until next time, horns up, mics off. We'll see y'all soon. This is Locked On Longhorns.